This is Dave Mason from My Taper Coach, and I am pleased to have a guest with us here today, Dr. Diane Grice, who is a naturopath specializing in mental health and some other things. But today we're going to be talking about mental health. I've been a patient of Dr. Grice for many years now, at least 3 that I can recall. And when I started with Dr. Grice, let's say I was not in great shape. So I was on benzodiazepines and had a really rough time on them. They did not agree with my system, and getting off of them was a surprise because I didn't realize how tapering off of those is very difficult. So through the use of acupuncture and naturopathic medicine and homeopathy, I was able to do it along with my course, which will be launching here shortly, on how to strengthen your nervous system, to make the transition off the medication a lot easier. Because I have done it a few times. I have done it without my course, not knowing anything about Kundalini yoga, and having had to work on my nervous system for a few years. I've learned a few things. So I have a very condensed version of what you need to do yogically. I am not a doctor. I do not give medical advice. So the yoga I can speak to, and Dr. Grice was able to witness the progress with the holistic with everything working. So anyway, so I just wanted to get Dr. Grice's take on, tapering and, what you can expect and what you can look forward to with that. Because it is, for some, it can be definitely a dark night of the soul. So anyway, thank you for being here.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me. I'm glad
Yeah.
to be here, and it's a very important topic. I think although we were in our way to a mental health crisis, or possibly into one prior to the pandemic, we certainly are in one now. And more people are being put on medication because their symptoms are so high. So, first off, I want to say that people seeking help, of course, is always important. And I don't want to say that being on medicine, pharmaceutical medicine, is always a bad thing. It's about how long you're on it and what else you're doing alongside it. Using it short term can be very helpful and can get people out of very acute situations. But of course, being able to self-regulate emotion and respond to anxiety, and get proper sleep, all of those things coming from within, of course, are our goal. So there's a lot of different routes that can be taken. I think first off, just from thinking about the classes of benzos, is the short and moderate acting versus a long acting. And the short and intermediate acting are even things like Xanax, alprazolam, that are very difficult to get off of and can create a lot of dependence because of how short the half-life is. So it causes a lot of rebound symptoms. And so often getting someone off of switching even from a short or intermediate to a longer acting like Klonopin or Valium is going to allow them to have a lot less ups and downs while you're working to stabilize from within. So I think that change alone can be helpful. Of course, staying at as very small a dose as possible. Sometimes doctors will start at a moderate dose instead of the smallest, and I am not a fan of that. Many people get the positive benefit from a very small amount, and then it's much easier to get off of that smaller
That I did learn. Now, one of the things,
amount.
I didn't even know what anything ending with the 3 letters PAM, lorazepam, clonazepam. I had a panic attack. I went to the hospital and they gave me, I walked out with Ativan. I didn't know what it was. And I felt a couple days I felt fine. I stopped taking it, and 2 days later, may not have been that long. I was actually on the floor. I mean, I just was like, I couldn't stand up. I was sweating. Felt like my heart was going to pound out of my chest. And I called my doctor, and at the time, and he said, no, you can't just stop taking those. Well, I didn't know, no idea, no clue. I don't even think a lot of doctors understand. I was talking to a young doctor, had no idea withdrawal symptoms, what you can die from it as well. I understand,
Mm.
that, they're just not educated on, they'll easy to get on. There's, but there's not a lot of information about how to get off the medication. I don't say successfully, but there's a way to do it. There's definitely a way not to do it. The first way I did it was not the way to do it.
Yeah.
So
There's a general rule of thumb that is about a 25% decrease every 1 to 2 weeks. Now,
that
that
was too
depends.
much for me.
Yeah, and for a lot of people it is. That depends on how long you've been on it and how
Yep,
high of a dose you're on,
correct.
and what other stabilizing things are part of your system. All that
Yep.
Ativan without the yoga, without breath work, without a good diet, without good sleep, without regular exercise, then there's very small chance that that's going to be a positive experience. So working while they're on that, as of course as low of a dose as possible, getting all of that baseline, we call it in naturopathic medicine, foundation of health, how you think, how you sleep, how you eat, how you drink water, all how you move, it is the foundation. What you can do supplements and do things and on top of that, but without that foundation, very small chance of having a healthy recovery from any chronic disease, including mood disorders. Which for most people, the mood disorders often started in childhood or teenage years. So for many adults, it is a chronic disease that they've been dealing with for a long time. So having counseling on board, having these other things, working, cognitive behavioral therapy and EMDR and these tools that can help people shift their perspectives on what's happened in their life, that can free up their spirit in ways that they don't need to be medicated the same way, because the the way that they see themselves and their history and their future is shifted by a new perspective, which that's where professional counseling is really important, very important.
Yeah, they definitely, not a linear thing. So, many different modalities working at the same time. So I did EMDR with somatic experience, or SE, I think they call it. And I have been finding, yeah, a lot of those issues do go back to childhood traumas. So, again, all the things work together, but that's not a bad place to start, is really, going back to there, because if you're going to go off the medication, in my opinion, at least for me, I knew I needed to be better, from when I started to when I decided I was going to go off of it. And definitely the nervous system needs to be prepared for that as well. So
Right, right.
I from what I've seen, not in a clinical sense, but just people I know, they have a really hard time because they don't do anything to prepare themselves to go off. Uh, they haven't done, the diet. They haven't done the exercise. They haven't found a practice to help them regulate. Because my first experience, like being completely off, it was horrifying. Like your like nerve endings are just like wide open, and if you're you're really drinking out of the garden hose at that point, and the rebound anxiety is usually worse than what had you get on the medicine in the first place. And it's at that jump off point where I think people have a really hard time dealing with that. So we worked on supplementation, which definitely helped. So, but yeah, it just all got to work together.
Right. And I want to speak to that the lifestyle piece, because when we're either severely depressed or severely anxious, facing grocery stores, facing gyms, yoga studios, even going for walks outside and meeting neighbors, that can be overwhelming. So
Hmm.
I don't want to shame people who haven't been able to find those positive activities that, even though they know it will be helpful, when you're in that dark place, it's really hard to take that action. And so that's where doing things like herbs and nutrition, and we did like lithium orotate and zinc, that's going to be really calming. Things like alpha lipoic acid, and we did a lot of nutritive things that were going to be helpful for your nervous system. As well as like CBD is something that for many people they find helpful. Like I've got a little so
See it.
broad spectrum
Oh,
CBD. It's like they test it THC free, so it's not going to show up on a drug test. But this is 1,000 milligram tincture. You can get them in 500 or 1,000, but it's just often people even starting at 10 or 20 milligrams at a time. Some people need 50 or 100 milligrams of CBD to notice a benefit. But great for pain, great for sleep, great for mood, and it's an anti-inflammatory, which is a lot of persons they've found have anti, one of the likely mechanisms that is how it works, although it doesn't work they often don't work great long term. They can be helpful, and so calming inflammation within the brain and the nervous system is good for depression and anxiety. So getting these nutrients on board. This is another product I love, Vitanica Uplift, and it has B vitamins. It's like methylfolate, methylcobalamin, B6 and B12. Many people are deficient, and it's like building blocks for neurotransmitters, our energy production. And if you happen to be the about 30 or so percent of people who have a genetic mutation in the way that they methylate, the MTHFR mutation, often when that is the case, there'll be family history of mood disorders, there'll be family history of heart disease and miscarriages, certain conditions that are very require proper methylation. So taking the methylated forms of these vitamins, sometimes people have said, I've taken B12 forever, I never noticed a difference, and they were taking the cyanocobalamin. And so methyl is something that is in this product that which I like. um, and then the other part of it is things like hypericum, St. John's wort. That's a serotonin support, not an SSRI, but just going to be helping to
right.
support that pathway. Rhodiola and ginkgo, that are adaptogens, helping you deal with stress better, right? And that's the whole point of anxiety, and both anxiety and depression. Often there's feeling overwhelmed by your circumstances. So there's herbs, passion flower, that helps calm the mental chatter, that and nicely put into one package with the nutrients. And so taking one or two of these in the morning, because B vitamins are energy producing, so we don't want to take it before bed, but taking one or two in the morning can be really helpful for people. St. John's wort, though, of course, you have to be careful if you are on an SSRI, because doing too much serotonin is dangerous. So
Gotcha.
caution there.
So we're not saying go start taking
Right,
anything.
exactly. But there's tools like this out there, and
Yeah.
naturopathic doctors, even herbalists, who can work with you. And there's herbs that are helpful for calming the nervous system, for calming the mind, and so finding something that will be specific to your needs and safe for what the medications that you're taking. So often we'll do these things while the medicine is on board, building people up from the inside out for a period of time, working on breath, getting sleep better, getting their digestive tract better. And then once things are more stabilized, that's when we begin the taper process. based on their response,
Yes, not
right? We talked
tapering. Yeah.
about sometimes it's 25%, but for you, that was too fast. So we have to listen to the body.
Or I
Listen.
wouldn't do it. I would wait another week.
Mhm.
I
Right.
think the last thing is uh, overlooked is you need to have a plan for tapering because you most likely, I know, well, I would have these feelings of like climbing the wall. So you have to have a plan together for what actions will I have at my disposal to deal with that panicky feeling, like because you will want it again, I guarantee it. The drug will be screaming, "Take me, take me." So I had things like I would go to your office for acupuncture. I would do IV drips with a little bit more magnesium, and God, I can't even think of the other stuff.
Your yoga
B6.
practice,
Oh, the yoga. Well, yeah, yoga.
and then more acutely, we use things like the
Oh, yeah,
inositol,
inositol. That's what I was trying to
L-theanine,
think
that are amino acids that are just really calming. And so, you're up to, what, 6 or 7 grams, or
of.
even
Something
eight or
like
nine
that.
grams, something like that
I
a
right
day.
now I'm taking nuns, which is good. So
But there's just some things that, yes, that are more quick acting, that are still natural, but like L-theanine, 200 milligrams of that is very calming, and often people will feel a difference within an hour or two. L-theanine comes from tea. It's the calming part of tea. And so, in a capsule form, right,
oh,
it's
nice.
a heavier dose. So things like that that can be used, in the moment. Another tool I would say, other than breath, would be cold exposure. The cold showers in the morning, even when you're feeling really stressed, it can be a way to, uh, it'll get you out of this mind or body very quickly. Cold showers are a good introduction to a, cold bath is kicking it up quite a few notches, but that has been transformational in my life personally and professionally from a nervous system perspective, um, and an awareness that you get by the cold forces you inside yourself in a way that only uncomfortable things can. And stress is going to happen in life. So Wim Hof, who has brought the ice bath to the Western world, in the at least to North America, um, it is something that he talks about how it's stress is going to be in the world, and you either find it or it will find you, right? You have to train yourself to be able to deal with it. So breath work is a way of stressing yourself, stressing your system, in a controlled way to make it more resilient. Saunas are another way, heat exposure, stressing your system in a controlled way so it's more resilient. And then cold is very palpable, very, you can't not feel it, you can't not experience it. Some people love the sauna and it's not that stressful. Um, Cold
I
is
have
going to
one.
challenge
I like it.
everyone.
Just not in July.
Oh, true. Depends on where you live.
I just walk outside. That's my stress.
Yeah, that's
I
true.
will say with the cold though, in Kundalini yoga, we call it Ishnan. So if you can face that cold, you can face anything. Is the thought on that? But medically, they've studied and it does strengthen your nervous system and ability to deal with stress and all that fun stuff. So if we want to reach out to you for support, how do we find you? I know you have a website.
Yep. Yeah, you can find me. We can put the link, but it's drdianegrice.com.
I will
And
put
I'm
the
on
link in.
Instagram as well as Dr. Grice. And we can put a couple of these on here. You can find me on Facebook as well. But my office is located in Phoenix, Arizona.
And yeah, just you can go to my website for it's my taper plan for getting the yoga that I've designed specifically for mental health and drug tapering. And it's a program you can do at home. I will have I'll be adding a class on the weekend that you can do online with me. So just look for mytaperplan.com. And thanks for being here. And hopefully we'll be back again soon.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Dave.